Well, Tesla is officially in a PR war. So it's very evident. Tesla has accomplished some new things with the geofence and had made a joke of that geofence. And now the PR attack is on. So we had two big things happen today. The first one I kind of already covered in a short, but basically Waymo doubled its geofence today. And again, this is direct competition against Tesla. They seen that Tesla had, um, you know, basically doubled their geofence to match Waymo and just them being in operation for 3 weeks. So that's like pretty incredible that they were able to do that. Now the next big thing that came out, and it happened to come out on the exact same day, so this is why you know it's a PR war. But Uber is basically investing $300 million into a company called Nura, which is an AI company, right? So they're going to kind of have like a Waymo type of uh, process, and they're partnering with Lucid actually. So they're partnering with Lucid, which is going to use the Nura vehicle or the Nura AI platform for the autonomous driving. So Lucid, if you don't know who Lucid is actually an automotive electric vehicle company, an EV company. And I think they're planning on using the Lucid Gravity. They might use it on the Lucid Air as well. But actually, one cool fact is our company, Elite Automation, designed and built the weld fixtures for the Lucid Gravity second and third row seating. So we had a team that worked on that project for years. So pretty much any of the Lucid Gravities that you see, the second row, third row seating, our company had a pretty big involvement in the manufacturing of those seat frames. So yeah, just something really cool. It's one thing I love about what we do as a company. But yeah, so they're going to have an approach such as like how Waymo does, with Jaguar, and definitely one thing that's different is the structure and the way that they have their businesses, right? Because Waymo is basically kind of like the hardware, and they're buying Jaguar vehicles, whereas Uber is the investor in this, right? Which is the platform. Uber is the investor in Lucid, which is partnering with Nura to basically be able to deliver autonomous vehicles. So it looks like Uber is the one that's actually wanting to be the vehicle holder of the robo taxi, right? Of the autonomous vehicle, which is a first for Uber. Uber has never been an asset holder really. Uber's always relied on somebody else being the driver. They've never bought any vehicles. And I think that they've had to pivot like this. So this is something that I've never expected them to do. And this is actually something I don't really expect Tesla to do either, is own the vehicles. I don't think Tesla wants to own the vehicles, because if Tesla owns the vehicles, they own the liability. They would prefer somebody like me and you to own the vehicle. So if something goes wrong with the vehicle, we had to go to Tesla for service. So I don't think really Tesla wants a huge fleet of vehicles. I think they want the Tesla vehicles to service certain areas that maybe don't have enough Tesla vehicles to service it. I think there's certain use cases. I think the robo taxi might be just an opportunity for, them to have really good investment on it. According to the numbers I've ran on robo taxi, the investment for, or the ROI on a vehicle basically is like under 6 months. So if you know anything about investment, generally anything that's a 2-year investment or better is an extremely good investment. So if they have a 6-month ROI, and then for the next, you also have like the life cycle of that revenue stream. So the life cycle of that revenue stream is going to be a minimum of like 10 years. So they're going to have a 6-month ROI, and then have another 9.5 years of being able to generate revenue off of that. And your only operational expense is electricity. And if you're Tesla, you're technically getting it at cost, right? You're just paying for the infrastructure only. But again, I don't think they want that liability, which is something that really surprises me, and why I'm very confused on why Uber is becoming the owner of these vehicles. And I actually have to take that back, because I'm really not confused. I understand exactly why. And it's because Tesla's about to kill all of them, right? Tesla's going to kill Waymo. Tesla's going to kill Uber, right? So if they don't partner together to kind of destroy Tesla, they're so far ahead that it's like, okay, we're these guys down here, and then our businesses are basically going to go out of business if we can't destroy this guy up here, right? It's kind of like a kill Goliath type of thing, right? And so I think they're all honestly partnering PR wise to try to sabotage Tesla in the meantime. Um, but that's cool. It is what it is. Let them try. I mean, they kind of have to do something, right? They have their businesses to operate. They have their own shareholders to appease. Like, none of them want to go out of business, right? So, they got to fight back as hard as they can. And honestly, I'm pretty excited to see this partnership. I want to see how it rolls out. I've never heard of Nura. I think that they do have like some permits in like California or something like that to be able to operate in California. But they're not. I don't think they're operating anywhere else. I don't think they're operating in Austin, Texas. They're not operating really anywhere, right? Just in some locations in California, I think. And it's also probably, I think it's just testing. I need to do some more research on them and see like, if they're actually giving paid commercial rides, but I'm pretty positive they're not. They might be in like a testing phase, and I really think that's where they're at. They're just in testing only phase. Um, so like over the course like the next like few days or week or whatever, I'll probably do some research on that company to find out like what stage are they currently at, right? Because that matters. That matters a ton. Because if it's going to take them 2 years to have commercial viable vehicle, then it doesn't mean anything, right? It's like in 2 years, Tesla's going to have so many vehicles on the streets, and FSD is going to become so good that even if they are having to do any type of manual training for Austin, Texas, I think that version 14 is going to accommodate for like the next 99.9% of the problems that we have. So, if FSD, let's say 13, is already handling 99.9% of instances, it's good. I think that version 14 will handle that 0.1% that's left. And then out of that 0.1%, there's going to be another 0.1% that's left. And I think that's going to get handled by version 14. In between, whenever they're having these instances of intervention, I think for the robotaxi version of the software, I think what they're actually doing is they are going in and hard coding some of the issues. Like there's this one particular turn that turns left and they don't, and it doesn't perform it right? Then they're basically going in and coding and kind of giving us some commands on what to do. Go ahead and get in the right lane instead of the left lane because this is a turn lane, something like that. So whenever it gets to like some type of geographical location, it fires up like this special like code that kind of overwrites what FSD would normally do, or commands it to do something slightly than what it would normally do. And or they're doing some type of manual intervention training. So they're like in the software, like they're training this the wrong way, right way. So they're given very specific attention, human attention to the training of that particular location. It's kind of like off into the weeds, but that technology part of it's very, very important because that is the side that makes this thing a reality, right? Everybody, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, there's not a technology issue; it's ready to go." There is a technology issue. Technology issue is the only issue, really. I don't even think we have as near as much of a regulatory issue as we have a technology issue. Is it extremely good? Is it 99.9% there? Yes, I own two Teslas. I have the Cybertruck and the Model Y. And they're extremely good with very small amount of interventions. Most interventions are like illegal interventions and not safety interventions, meaning like the vehicle goes straight in a left lane or something like that. But the technology is super important, and it is the factor on whether this can scale to other cities. If technologically it was like 1,000 times better than the human, then it would just be everywhere right now. The regulatory would just approve it. You know what I mean? So there's like the data side of things. You got to collect the data to prove it, but it has to be there first, right? You can't just collect data and say, oh, we'll give it to regulatory regulators and stuff because the data's got to be good data first. So and another big thing besides regulators and data, it has to be safe enough. So the Nura company, going back to that, Nura company has to be at a good technological standpoint where it's not going to take them 2 years to be ready. And so also the big thing with the partnership with Uber and Lucid is that they're going to scale these out over 6 years. So, and we also don't know like if they're going to start in 2 years and then so for the next 4 years they're actually deploying. I don't think that they're ready to be deploying. I haven't heard enough about the company I would have known. I feel like I would have known about this Nura company before now if their technology was actually that good. So I think they're in the testing phase. I think there's multiple people that are like small startup companies that are in the testing phase of of autonomy. You know, Waymo is technically a startup that's spun off by Google, or at least, you know, has ownership by Google. Waymo may have started as a separate company, and then Google just bought into them. But it's just, again, a startup company, right? With no other business, right? Waymo has no other business. Nura, I don't think it has much other business. I don't know much about Nura, but I think they just rebranded as being a AI automotive company. I don't think there were AI for autonomy driving in the very beginning. So, of like their foundership, I think that's just kind of like one of the routes they navigated because they seen like, oh, like this is like the direction we need to go because like that's what people like Elon is doing, that's what Waymo is doing, things like that. They seen the opportunity basically. Um, this is great for Lucid because Lucid's been losing money for years. They're like pissing away money. They have like 1 year of funds on their books. So if they don't make any money for a year, then they're out of business. That's with all the funding and stuff that they've gotten, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, or whatever it is. Um, but you know, Lucid's growing. They have Lucid Air. They have Lucid Gravity now. They're just now launched the Lucid Gravity, um, and again, Neuro don't know much about it. The Waymo Geo Fence thing, they doubled their Geo Fence, so um, now they're back a bit bigger than Tesla again. I think that Tesla will definitely be ready to expand their geofence. I think in a technological level, they're ready to expand the geofence right now because they chose the shape of the geofence as a joke, which means they have pretty free reign to make the robo taxi bigger, the geofence bigger. The thing that I don't know that they're ready for is the expansion of vehicles and maybe the expansion of locations. Now, why do I say that? I say that because the more vehicles you have, the more safety riders you have to have, the more teleoperators you have to have, which I think is doable. I think they can accomplish that, right? But then it becomes a big money sink. Now they're spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on. Well, they're already probably spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on safety riders and shit, but maybe $1 million a month. If they want to like 5x the amount of rider or drivers they have right now, they're going to be spending probably $1 million, $2 million a month or something like that, just for your safety rider and your teller operators. So, and robotaxi is obviously operating at a loss now. I don't know how long they can continue to like milk the influencer world and this invite world. They're starting to invite people. So, but I haven't really heard of people from like Austin, Texas, really like a big mass amount of people being able to join the robo taxi. So if you're in Austin, Texas, and you know anything about this, and you know of individuals getting invitations, I'd really like to know that below, because again, like most people, if they did get an invitation, they're not video creators and shit like that anyway. So for that to actually get around and individuals like myself and other influencers and stuff, for us to have, for us to actually see that content, yeah, we're not going to really be able to see it right now. So it'd be very valuable to see that, so that way we can share it with other people as well. Because there is the one opportunity that if they take it more public and they open up and do huge amounts of invites, I would assume that, I mean, for a fact that there's enough to keep 15 robo taxis busy, right? So my premise behind all this is that if they have like let's say for instance they expand to 50 vehicles, how many people do they need to invite to be able to keep those 50 vehicles pretty busy? You know, 50 continuously acting. It don't matter if there's 100 in the garage, but if it's like 50 like continuously on the move, like rolling around town all the time, and then maybe you have another 50 back at the garage charging or something like that. That's fine. But then they could go and they could raise the price, and so then they're actually performing the service, right? They're actually potentially at least at a break even, or they go cash flow positive, meaning basically they're able to cover the cost of the safety rider being in the car. Again, we don't know what they're getting paid, so we don't know if it's 30,000, 60,000, 120,000. We don't really have a clue how much they're making right now. So it'd be really cool to also know how much those safety riders are making. Because that would also help like come up with some type of like price justification of uh, how much Tesla needs to make like per day to offset the cost of that. So then they can at that rate they can continue to and validate at scale, right? Let's just call it validated at scale, and at least break even. I don't even care if Tesla makes money off of it right now, like at a profit. It would just be nice to see them scale at a break even. So, um, so yeah. I just want to see. I want to see some more of that. I want to see more expansion. We got to see more vehicle expansion. My biggest concern on all that is, besides like hard coding, if they are actually hard coding, my biggest concern is that they're not going to be actually ready for robotaxi to like scale into multiple cities without extra training until version 14. So I think they have to have version 14 to potentially not need any training. I think especially, I feel very confident once we go to version 15, it basically won't need training at all. It won't need to do any of this validation mapping and stuff. I think it should do the validation mapping, especially when there's the mass amount of transport. I mean, really, it should do validation mapping of the entire country, even if the vehicle just does it by itself in FSD. That was a very unique thing. Like, you could literally just send the vehicle out in FSD and just let it go. Just have thousands of vehicles just traveling across the U.S., nobody in the car, and just let it validate. And then surely it won't wreck or anything like that. And if it does wreck, then we found out that it wrecked and you found a spot that in your validation that you need to fix. Hopefully it didn't wreck into anybody or hurt anybody or anything like that. But if there's nobody in that car and it like drives off the side of the road, then it ends up in a ditch. Who cares? You lost a vehicle, whatever. But you didn't have to pay $100,000 a year for one single person to drive around to validate everything. So I think that becomes an easy way to validate because Tesla can just deploy and just drive around all cities. They can validate themselves. So I haven't really heard anybody talk about Tesla being able to validate themselves, even if they had to run around with LiDAR. It doesn't matter. Equip a $1 million vehicle, equip $10 million vehicles, and just have them scan the U.S. all the time. Never stop. Maybe just fucking always do it, until you're at version 17 and it's like 1,000% works in every single country, every single city, every single back road, every single gravel road. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's just some different approaches. So my point being is that with this video is there's some big news out in the AI space for autonomy in vehicles. Pretty cool deal. I'm really excited about it, even though I'm definitely betting in Tesla. On the flip side, like I am so confident in Tesla that it will be able to accomplish it. On the flip side, I'm okay like having some diversification and having like some investment in these other companies, like if they were public. So I mean, if you wanted some exposure to that, you could invest in Uber. You can invest in Lucid. Lucid will be one of the biggest beneficiaries because of their stock price right now. Like Lucid is just like plummeted to nothing. I think Lucid's stock price shot up a ton today because again, Lucid is just like pouring out money. I was invested in Lucid at one point in time, and when I just seen like their cash burn, I was like, I can't do this. I have to get out of here. So I sold way long ago. I didn't lose very much money because I got into it because I wanted to be just invested in them, and then I just kind of seen the way that their company was operating, and there was like such a startup company that just like didn't have any clarity for profitability. They still don't, and that's been years since then. But Lucid is going to be like one of the biggest beneficiaries as far as like making a lot of money. I mean, Neuro will be too, but I don't think Neuro's public. Lucid's public. You can invest in Uber. Uber's scary though because like if Tesla puts them out of business, then it's to zero. You know what I mean? Waymo, Google's a freaking great investment. You know what I mean? Even if Waymo fails, Google's going to do fine. Google has Gemini. That's an AI bet. So Google's one of my holdings. But again, it's more of a diversification thing. I have majority of my money in Tesla and AMD and everything else is kind of a diversification. I have, like, so there's Nvidia and Meta. Pretty much anybody that's doing anything in AI, I think is a great bet. I think that I think it's one of those situations where a lot of them are not going to be winners. I think they're going to grow as companies because they're already so massive, and already have so many things going for them, and just like they're great businesses in general, right? AI is just going to be like not only the cherry on the top, but like the cherry that could be a 10x multiplier for your money. So I think those are all great bets. Again, I think I'm supposed to say like this is not financial advice for like liability purposes or something like that. But yeah, AI is definitely one of the you just got to pay attention to AI. You have to pay attention to AI because it's the future. Whether it's more of these general intelligence or whether it's in autonomous vehicles. Obviously, I'm a robotics expert. I don't talk about this too much, but I'm a robotics expert. I've done automation and robotics for my entire career. So it's been like 15 years now. I own and operate Elite Automation, which is an automation company for manufacturing facilities, and I've been operating that company for like 5 years now. So I have a ton of exposure to like automation and manufacturing and also kind of like job displacement due to automation or job like man whenever COVID happened and then we went back to work. People didn't want to go back to work, and companies were like we were in a true crisis in our country for automation at that point in time. Like people just didn't want to work. There's like little manufacturing lines down that they just couldn't even run them, and they had to tell their customers, look, sorry, I can't produce this part for you because I don't have humans to be here to operate the machines and stuff like that. It was a crazy time. So but yeah, I just kind of point that out because of basically robotaxis and stuff like that are autonomy, they're automation. So it gives me a good like technological insight. I also have a lot of experience in vision, so I've done a lot of vision applications in automation. So I have a very good understanding of vision systems and how they work and cameras and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I spent my entire career working for a company that basically does what I do now, and they specialized in vision, but they actually had a proprietary vision system that was like better than a Keyence or Cognex. You probably don't know who those are because they're manufacturing vision systems, but they were some of the best in the world, or they are some of the best in the world still. But during like 10 years ago, the company that I worked for basically had the best vision system out there, right? It could do stuff that Keyence and Cognex couldn't do. The issue was they never packaged it as like a product. Everything was kind of like a custom system. So that gave me a lot of exposure to the back end of like vision systems and vision tools and all those types of things. Which yeah, just kind of gives me more insight in like how like the cameras work or potentially work inside of Teslas and the vision based approach and labeling and just all these different things, right? That's related to vision, exposure, whatever, right? But yeah, hopefully this was entertaining. If it was, hit the subscribe button. Thumbs up button. You hit the thumbs up button too if you want. Hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more content like this. We're talking all different types of Tesla related things, investment related, entrepreneurial, business operation, properties. Yeah. Catch you on the next one. Peace out.